What is up, my friends? Welcome to John Smoltz Day here on Flippin' Bats, where every single week the Hall of Famer John Smoltz joins us to talk everything around the game of baseball. We're going to talk the Astros, Yordan Alvarez's injury. We're going to talk Shohei Ohtani creating a new 50-50 club, 50 homers and 50 strikeouts on the season as a pitcher. Nobody has ever done that in the history of baseball, and I would say there's no bigger fan than John Smoltz of Shohei Ohtani, but I do feel like I hold that reign. So we'll go. John Smoltz is maybe the second biggest fan of Shohei Ohtani, and we're going to talk to him and see his words about this situation. Also going to talk to him about the Mets big collapse, and as one of just a few pitchers to reach 20 years of service time, John Smoltz did it, and my brother has just done it as well. I thought it would be really cool to get a message from John Smoltz to my brother on just how special it is and how he feels about it. So really excited to talk to him about all of that. We got a lot to talk about today. The Astros injury to Yordan Alvarez is brutal. The Houston Astros lose Yordan Alvarez he rolled his ankle on home plate, and we don't really know a ton of info about it, but here's what we do know. The Astros offense without Yordan Alvarez is not good enough. It's not scary without Yordan Alvarez. Now, is he going to miss the remainder of the year, the rest of the regular season, playoffs? We don't exactly know. But from my opinion, it looks very similar to what we saw from Freddie Freeman at the very end of last year. Now, Freddie's happened later in the season. He missed the final 3 games. He did end up playing in the playoffs while missing a game here or there, but it looks very similar. So when Joe Espada talked after the Yordan injury, manager of the Astros, it was really hazy to me what was said. There's a lot of contradicting of it's a significant injury, he said, and he's going to miss a good bit of time. So to me, it then kind of got walked back of like, well, he hasn't been placed on the IL yet as we speak. Hopefully we can get him back soon, was also said. So I just get a little bit frustrated with the Astros and just why can't the Astros be upfront and honest when it comes to injuries? So we just got word back, right? Why can't the Astros come forward and say, here's the deal. We just got word back. I just spoke to Yordan. It's not great news, but it could be worse. Here's all we know. It's a pretty bad ankle sprain. I think it's similar to what happened to Freddie Freeman at the end of last year. He's going to miss some time. He's going to get treatment every day. I think based off of what we know and have been told, he's probably not going to play again in the regular season and will have to play through some pain in October. I'm not, if it progresses to him being able to play at that point in October, hopefully we can do that and he can play through some pain. Like, I just don't, to me, cut the crap of it's significant and it's going to take him, quote, a while, but we aren't going to talk days or weeks. And I'm not going to say if he's going on the IL or not. But also ending this same sentence with hopefully he's not out for a long period of time. You just said he's going to be out for a while. I just don't get why the Astros are so cagey with their injury situations. Who's it benefiting? Just be honest with the fans. It's not this competitive advantage to say, we don't know. We don't know if it's going to be a day. We don't know if it's going to be the whole season. It's just totally contradicting yourself, and I don't really understand who it benefits. I get that you have information that nobody else has, right? You just spoke to Yordan. Yordan got this MRI. It shows an ankle sprain. It's significant is what we hear, but I'm not going to talk days or weeks or months. I don't understand who it's been. Just tell us the information that you know, or at least an abbreviated version of it. The Astros are, I feel like, notorious for being so cagey with their injuries. We were told the Kyle Tucker situation last year was a bone bruise, and it ended up being a fracture, and he was out for months. And that's happened since then. And now I feel like with Yordan, it's like a little bit cagey with the injury situation. To me, it's just a lot of contradicting, and I wish they would just be upfront and honest with the situation. But the Astros were plus 130. The Houston Astros were plus 130 to win the AL West before this Yordan Alvarez news. The second it happened and was revealed, the Astros went to plus 145 on FanDuel Sportsbook. And then they won that game right after that, and it's back down to plus 135 to win the division. So, look, I think this is more of an issue long-term. Can Yordan Alvarez be productive in the postseason? For me, this is more of a postseason issue. I do like the Astros' schedule. So I think this is more about the postseason. The Astros will not win it all unless Yordan Alvarez comes back. But I will still take the Houston Astros to win the division, which is plus 135 on FanDuel Sportsbook right now. But I'm holding off on any belief in the postseason. You know, they still have the Seattle. They get to play Seattle at home. That's huge. You play 3 games against the Mariners, division in hand. You can control your own destiny in Houston. Then you play the Athletics and then the Angels, whereas the Mariners have Houston on the road. Then they play the Colorado Rockies, which is great. But then you finish the year with games against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Schedule benefits the Astros. You get to play the Mariners at home. So I still look at this, even without Yordan, and say, okay, I still like them at plus 135 to win the division, but I am staying away from them when it comes playoff time. I do just wish they would be a little less cagey about their injury situation so we can know some more. Shohei Ohtani. I'm going to talk to John Smoltz about Shohei Ohtani, but on Tuesday night, Shohei Ohtani pitched 5 no-hit innings against maybe the best offense in baseball in the Philadelphia Phillies. And then he hit his 50th home run of the season. 50 homers. He created another 50-50 club. 50 homers on the year, 50 strikeouts as a pitcher. The first player in Major League Baseball history to do that. This is the greatest athlete that I've ever seen. This is the greatest athlete of our generation. This is the greatest athlete of all time in baseball. It's the greatest athlete that we've seen in our generation, and that's including any sport you want to name. This is the greatest athlete that we have seen. What's even crazier about this 50th home run while throwing 5 no-hit innings is this is not the best game that he's ever had while hitting 50 home runs on a season. If you remember last year when he created the 50-50 club offensively, he went 6 for 6 with 3 home runs, 2 doubles, 2 stolen bases, and 10 RBIs, hitting his 50th home run of the season in that game. This year, the very year following, he hits his 50th home run on a night where he throws 5 no-hit innings against the best offense in the game of baseball. This is the greatest talent we've ever seen. Forget just baseball. This is the greatest talent that we have ever seen. And to top it all off, after the game, we're kind of all wondering, how do they handle him in the playoffs? We've always wondered that. We haven't seen him throw more than 5 innings in the regular season. Well, finally, we got some clarity there on how he might be and how he could be used in the playoffs. Dave Roberts said the plan is that he's not going to throw more than 5 innings in the regular season, but in the postseason, we could see him push past that 5-inning mark. Now, a bit of an interesting caveat is Shohei Ohtani mentioned the outfield. Shohei in the outfield is something we might get in October. Can you imagine Shohei Ohtani playing the outfield in October? Here's what he had to say. I've been having conversations with different people, and that topic has come up. That applies to the mound and possibly even the outfield. If I end up going as a reliever, there could be situations where I also need to play defense in the outfield. Now, what he means by that is if he comes in relief and then comes out of the game, he would need to be removed as the DH as well. That same rule does not apply for him as a starter. If he comes in relief and comes out of the game, he's done. Done as DH, done hitting. However, if he comes in as a reliever and then goes to play the outfield, he can stay in the game and hit. So there's a very real chance that we get Shohei Ohtani playing in the outfield in the postseason. I think most likely if this were to happen, it's in the World Series. Can you imagine Shohei Ohtani in the outfield, pitching on the mound in the World Series. It would be absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. Shohei Ohtani comes running in out of the bullpen, throws a dominant inning on the mound, and then heads from the mound to the outfield for the first time in his Major League Baseball career. I can't even fathom. I would be losing my mind. So what I do think happens, I do think the plan is for him to be used in the rotation. But essentially, if he comes in as a reliever, I think he starts in the rotation, and then there might be a situation in the World Series where, hey, we need you. Can you come in out of the pen, and then we'll keep you in the game if we need to, or if it's not the ninth inning, and then we'll put you in the outfield. This man is insane. He's the greatest athlete of all time. That is Shohei Ohtani. We know John Smoltz is a huge, huge fan of Shohei Ohtani. Could not say bigger, bolder words about Shohei Ohtani as a pitcher and what he means on the mound. So I'm excited today to talk to him about what Shohei Ohtani is doing, his thoughts on seeing him in the outfield, because this man is absolutely insane. He just hit his 50th homer of the season while throwing 5 no-hit innings, and it is not the best game in his career where he's hit 50 homers. Let that sink in. But who we're going to let in now is the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz, where every single week he joins, no matter where he is, to talk what's happening around the game of baseball. We're going to talk Astros and Yordan Alvarez. We're going to talk Shohei. We're going to talk the Mets crumbling, the biggest collapse he has ever seen, and a message to Justin for reaching 20 years of service time in the big leagues. I can't believe it. So, without further ado, my friends, let's welcome in the Hall of Famer himself, John Smoltz. All right, and I am pumped to be joined now, as we are every single week, by the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz. John, it's crunch time right now. There's about 10 games left for everybody in the season, and we are just rolling towards the finish line.
Yeah, it's there's some fighting chances for some teams that we didn't think would be in the mix. They got to go and run the gauntlet though. They got to go 9-1, 8-2, and get
Yeah.
some help. Look at the scoreboard. I always love this time of the year. We don't have as many as we thought we would have as far as the whole leagues, but there are still some divisions up for grabs, and what better can you ask for down the stretch?
Well, maybe one of the most nervous teams, and a division still up for grabs, is the AL West. The Houston Astros just got passed by the Seattle Mariners, so they're now sitting in second place in that division. The Mariners have gone on a 10-game win streak as we speak, and the Astros just lost Yordan Alvarez. We don't know a ton about the injury. Manager Joe Espada has called it significant and that he's going to miss a good bit of time, then kind of walked that back and said, hopefully we can get him back soon. He's not yet on the IL as we speak. So, I mean, my question to you, John, is can the Astros survive without Yordan Alvarez?
They really can't on an everyday basis. If he's in there giving you 4 at bats, look, if he stood in a box and no one knew he was hurt, his impact is great. Like,
Yeah.
that's hard for people to believe. If they didn't know he had rolled his ankle and all he could do was stand in a box and play DH and maybe swing and not run, that's how big of an impact he is in that lineup. So the Astros seem to find a way that every way that they could scratch runs and win games that are close. But right now, it's the worst timing that you could have for your star player who got back in your lineup, went on a severe tear in the beginning of September, changed the dynamics of your future, and now is right back into that same storyline of injuries.
So even with kind of getting the core back together a little bit, you bring Carlos Correa back, you have Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, you add Christian Walker, Yainer Diaz. Even with that core, you're saying without Yordan Alvarez, you don't think they have near the same chance.
Yeah, they're two right-handed. Every guy you mentioned is right-handed at bat. There's no one to break up that relief core that can come in and face all those righties in a row. Without Tucker, without Alvarez, the left-handed pop is gone out of their lineup.
Yep.
So that is a big. Can they win? Yeah. I mean, they'd have to do a lot of things right, and those right-handers would have to put a lot more balls in play and get hot. But with Correa in there, and then you balance it with Alvarez, and then Walker getting a better version of himself, you've got a formidable team that can certainly make some pitchers pay. But without that left-handed presence now, managers have an easier job to bring in guys that they don't have to worry about facing left-handed power.
Yeah, just a brutal blow. Still not a ton known as we speak, but hopefully he can get back. They can figure out how to get into the playoffs and then hopefully get Yordan back and figure out where to go from there. John, I want to talk about Shohei Ohtani. We talk about him a good bit, but I feel like every day he's doing something that I just can't go by without asking you about. The last night, as we speak, this happened on Tuesday night. Shohei Ohtani threw 5 no-hit innings against perhaps the best team in baseball, perhaps the best offense in baseball. And then later in the game, he hit his 50th home run of the season, creating another 50-50 club, by the way. 50 home runs and 50 strikeouts on the season. First player to ever do that in the history of baseball. You've said a lot of bold words about how you feel about Shohei Ohtani. What do you say about him now?
Just validates everything that I've said, that anyone thought I was crazy. There you go. Enough said. I mean, he is by far the biggest talent we've ever seen. I am buying his arm like nobody else could buy his arm, even after the injury and the second time. I think he's a shutdown number one starting pitcher. And then he's an MVP every year waiting to happen to surprise you in some fashion. So this is the first time the Dodgers really get to see the two-way player.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're seeing, I guarantee it. Look, most people would have said, hey, if he never pitches again, the contract's worth it. Look what he did last year. Look what he did at his feet. Look what the stolen bases, all those things being said, I get it. But you add on the ability to pitch like I think he can pitch. You have a difference maker in the postseason. You have a difference maker in the regular season, and nothing seems to bother him. I still believe it's a 3-year shelf life. And he could prove that wrong, right? He could
Yeah.
pitch for the next 5 years. But I think what he's doing just kind of reinforces that we're never going to see this again. We might see something close, but we'll never see it again. And people have no idea what kind of pitcher he is because they just haven't seen him enough.
Yeah.
When you kind of hide in LA, which the Angels portion of it, and you're not really relevant, most people are going to go, I don't know what kind of pitcher he is. Now
Yeah.
you're going to see it. You're seeing it against some of the best.
Yeah. Well, we finally got a little bit of clarity after the game. Dave Roberts kind of spoke on how we might see him used in the playoffs. Dave Roberts said he's not going to go more than 5 innings in the regular season, but in the postseason, we could see him go further. And then we also heard Shohei Ohtani come out and say he'd be willing to play outfield for the Dodgers in the postseason. And it's just, for me, it's hard. It's hard to fathom and to put into words what we're seeing. I mean, we're talking about this guy being willing to play outfield. I think this is the greatest athlete that we've ever seen. Do you want to see that? Do you want to see Shohei Ohtani in the outfield in the playoffs? He did say that. I think the reason you would see that is if he's used in relief, which I don't think he will be, but if he's used in relief, if he were to come out of the game, he has to be taking out as DH as well. So what he said is we're having conversations about the outfield where if I come in relief, I can stay in the game and just go play outfield.
I think it's brilliant. The only thing you risk is diving, of course, for a ball.
Yeah.
You bring in a little bit more of that. But I always said that if he was drafted and signed by a National League team, this is exactly how I would do it. It would be an outfielder with the rules back then that you could come in if needed in this exact situation. So I think it's brilliant to have that conversation. I don't know if it'll happen, but that's what you risk. You risk him diving, making a play. You're not worried about him throwing anymore. And not to mention who's going to try to score on him if he's getting the left field or wherever he's at. That's going to be a different challenge. But I absolutely think it's brilliant. I don't know if it'll happen, but I could see it happen for sure in the World Series.
Yeah.
If you get to the World Series, then all bets are off, and you could absolutely utilize this guy because what I think's going to happen is he'll be relevant in the lead-in series until the World Series. Then you can look at it, especially if they have the depth that I think they'll have, then you can look at him as the ultimate weapon. And that ultimate weapon being in the outfield could play a role in the 9th inning. It could.
Yeah.
And his ability to get ready, which would be challenging, but all stadiums have things underneath Yeah, it's just a good conversation. It's a freakish conversation, but it's a good one to have.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it being the World Series. You on the call for this, Shohei Ohtani coming in out of the pen and then running from the mound when he's done to the outfield. I feel like you're just going to go back to being like a little kid seeing the coolest thing ever in the booth.
Yeah, I mean, we're spoiled now. But to see things that we're seeing, I guess it doesn't surprise me anymore. I've never wavered, and I'll never take back anything I say about his pitching because I just am in awe. I drool when I watch him pitch. He hasn't even come close to maximizing that level. We've talked about it in exhaustion. It's like he's not even dedicating the full amount of time that you need to dedicate just for pitching
Yeah.
because he's got to share the roles and share the job of hitting as well. So, again, if something were to happen, and I don't even think of a situation where he couldn't hit, and all they had him as a pitcher for 2 months, they're going to be happy. It's like it's not the ultimate, but they're going to be happy. He has resources and abilities to supplant plenty of that contract value if he just did one.
Yeah.
So now you're getting a chance to see both.
John, let's turn the page a little bit. The New York Mets at one point were 20 games over 500. They led the NL East. They had the best record in the National League, and they have just completely crumbled. What happened to the New York Mets?
Starting consistency in the rotation caused concern and brought in young pitchers that you hope, and they've done a really nice job, but you're never going to get that consistency. The general rule of a young pitcher in today's game, at least back when I was playing, if you threw 1 out of 3 really good games, you were doing well.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to morph into 2 out of 5 and then eventually get to 2 out of 3. And that's what the risk is with the injuries they've had and putting in so much emphasis on young starting pitching. But then their bullpen just didn't deliver under the gun. They made some great moves that have backfired. I don't understand it. I really don't.
Yeah.
Heisley, I just think they made all the right moves. You cannot blame them for the moves they made. It just didn't connect, but it has time to connect at the right time if they get in. And it looks like they're in a position to get in. Then they become dangerous. Then everything I just said about the 1 out of 3, you don't have to worry about 5 starts. You just worry about one.
Yeah.
Like you just get that one and you get that shorten the game and the offense connects. To me, I know it's not that easy to score 3 runs every game, but if there's an offense built around scoring 3 runs, I thought it was the Mets. I don't follow them every single day, but whenever you got Soto and you got Alonso and Lindor and Nimmo and McNeil, those are all names on the back of the card that you go tough outs. They could get hot. They can carry a
Mm-hmm.
ball club. And I think that to me has become more of an inconsistency. And that still trickles down with the fact that knowing an offense coming to the park going, hey, we got to score 6 today, that's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
When you have a consistency of your starting staff to say we could score 3 and win, that's a better feeling. And I think that narrative mentally does affect guys from time to time. And look, it's New York. Everything's going to be magnified.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if I'm the New York Mets and I get into the playoffs, I do not hesitate for 1 second to go to Nolan McLean in the biggest game we got. That kid is a stud.
Yeah, he is. But again, there's still a little bit of unknowns. He's
100%.
he's doing the things you need to do to get your feet wet and acclimate yourself to the big leagues. But it's a whole different world now
Yeah.
when you get into that postseason, the
Sure.
pressure and the intensity.
They've seemingly rode the ship a little bit. They had lost a bunch of 8 games in a row. They got out of it. They've won a couple in a row to this point as we speak on Wednesday morning. But we'll see. They've kind of got things back in their favor to get into the playoffs. They've pushed their lead a little bit further after losing it to the Giants, but the Giants haven't won a game since they got the lead. So hopefully we're not talking about this being the biggest collapse ever. But if I were to ask you the biggest collapse that you've ever seen over the course of either you playing or calling the game of baseball, what's the biggest collapse you can remember down the stretch?
That's a great question. I mean, obviously, there's more back in the history that have quantified itself. Man, I mean, I think when the Mets lost an 11-game lead. They have more
It's the
narrative than
Mets
they,
again.
against the Braves. It kind of changed things. Now they're in a position where they can flip that around
Yeah.
despite whatever we've just talked about. Like they've been there, done that. They've been punched in the gut. They've rallied from nowhere. Last year was pretty incredible. And the ability for them to flip the script. But the biggest collapse, I know I'm missing one, and I think it might have been the Mets way, way, way back when they had I mean, 12, 13 game lead. And I think the last week won one. I don't know. It's just, there's definitely a feeling that if you're a Mets fan, you have more of these stories than
100.
you do the miracle Mets, right? And I just think they've done enough to change the narrative. They've got to finish this thing off. Nobody's going to care where they position themselves as long as they're in the playoffs because they can use last year's map as you never know. One swing away, Alonso beating the Brewers on that
Yep.
incredible. Like there's all these things they've experienced. You almost, as a player and a manager, have to be numb to the noise that's going around. And I think they are.
Yeah.
I think everyone else is more worried than they are.
John, I thought it could be fun this week to finish up with Justin reached 20 years of service time on his start on Friday last week against the Dodgers. From my research, it's a little bit hazy to tell, but from what I've seen, there's only about 40 or so pitchers in MLB history that have reached 20 years of service time. You're one of those. You pitched for over 20 years in the big leagues. I would love to hear how you feel about Justin reaching that mark and a message to him for getting there.
Yeah, I always, you've heard me say he's a 10-speed bike. He's got 10 gears. I thought he used them extremely well in his young days. He's a freakish athlete that would always be there at the end. And I think if he wanted to, 2 more years is reachable. I really do. I know people saw the early start and it didn't work well, but he started pitching like Justin Verlander knows how to pitch. And there are milestones I'm sure he wants to reach, and good for him. I think everybody should have looked at his career, and we're going to lose sight of it because he's the last one to ever do this. Period. You heard it. Last one ever. There will never, under the current circumstances of baseball and the reward system, ever be a pitcher that pitches 20 years again. You can make statements that there'll be the last one to ever reach that many strikeouts, so on and so on. You could make 10 categories that no one will ever reach. But they need to study him and use him as an example for the future if we want to change the narrative of how pitchers should be used and what they should do. And I'm talking all the way back from he's got 99, he had 98, but he didn't use it all the time. He used his gears.
Yep.
And then when he had to dial it up, he did. And you can still make a claim that at his age and his velocity, he knows how to pitch. The reason we'll never see it again is because this generation won't be allowed to do that. When they fall off the
Yep.
radar gun or fall off the metrics analytically, they're done. And no one wants to take a chance on that because they're not given the ability to do that. So as I ended my career and he was in the twilight of his, I've enjoyed following and watching this masterpiece of what you can do with the talent that you have. And it's not all about revving the engines and letting it go because you're driving a Maserati or it's
Yeah.
using every aspect that he had.
Awesome. Well, John, it certainly means a lot coming from you for sure, as one of only a few to do what he has done as well. So I appreciate you talking about it. As always, this has been a lot of fun. And here's what I need from you, John. When we talk next week, do you think you'll be ready for the Garrett Crochet, Tarek Skubal, Smoltz formula?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, we got a surprise, a hidden surprise in the National League all of a sudden. I don't think it's a surprise, but I don't think anybody thought Freddie Peralta would be where he's at with the Milwaukee Brewers. So I'm going to put together both
Woo!
next week, and I'll have my perspective on who I think is going to win.
Okay.
Looks like Scubal's injury is not a big deal,
Yep.
so thankfully that won't be in the mix. But I think the formula will predict the winner, no doubt.
All right, so we'll get two. We'll get two next week. We'll do the NL, which will feature a little surprise. Maybe we know the winner, but like it might be closer than people think.
It
And then
might
we'll do
be.
the AL.
Sounds great.
All right, John, I appreciate it as always, my friend. Let's do it next week.
Look forward to it.
All right, just wanted to thank John for joining us here on the show, as he does every single week. Really fun conversation this week. A lot to talk about with him. Really fun conversation. And I agree. I just think it would be the coolest thing ever to see Shohei Ohtani come in the pen in the World Series and then go hit the outfield. It'd just be incredible. But really cool to hear him speak about my brother that way and reaching 20 years of service time. And man, I've done a lot of sitting back and reflecting over the last few days, over the last week. And if you didn't listen, the Monday episode this week, I talk about him reaching 20 years of service time. I really gave a heartfelt message, but in natural younger brother fashion, had to do a little, my brother is so old that conversation following that. So please go back and check out our Monday episode. A lot of really good stuff, really fun episode. Coming up this weekend, by the way, a fantastic weekend of Major League Baseball coming up. You have the Houston Astros and the Seattle Mariners, maybe the biggest series of the year, certainly in the AL West. One thing I did want to talk about is the Home Run Derby X semifinals and finals coming up this weekend in Salt Lake City. Quarterfinals are Friday, and then on Saturday, you get the finals. If you don't know what Home Run Derby X is, it's a 3v3 co-ed home run derby, and it is absolutely electric. It will be taking place in Salt Lake City at the ballpark at America First Square. Again, 3v3 co-ed. The teams involved to this point, the winning team splits $200,000. The teams involved are the Nationals, who have Ryan Zimmerman, Ian Desmond. It's big league legends, softball superstars. So there's some big names here. You have the Nationals with Ryan Zimmerman, Ian Desmond. The Dodgers have Adrian Gonzalez. The Cardinals have Adam Wainwright and Rick Ankiel on the team. Jose Reyes and Cole Tucker are involved. The Yankees, Nick Swisher and Todd Frazier are for the New York Yankees. Then there's the Royals with Mike Moustakas. It's just some legends, retired legends on the baseball side, softball superstars. And when I say legends, Jocelyn Alo, NCAA all-time leader in home runs, one of the most dominant power hitters in the history of college softball, two-time U.S. Softball Collegiate Player of the Year. She's an absolute superstar. She's in this. Rachel Garcia, Olympian, two-time Collegiate Player of the Year, one of the best two-way players in recent memory. And then there's Tiari Jennings, another All-American from Oklahoma, one of the best middle infielders and power hitters in the country. So we have MLB legends paired with softball superstars for a 3v3 co-ed electric factory to win $200,000. That's what Home Run Derby X is, and it is this weekend, Friday and Saturday in Salt Lake City, and you can watch that go down. So I'm excited. We'll talk about the winners on Monday, but again, that's Friday and Saturday in Salt Lake City. Check that out. Fun show, fun weekend ahead for Major League Baseball and Home Run Derby X this weekend. I appreciate you all for watching and listening. If you haven't, check us out on our YouTube channel, Flippin' Bats Pod, where you can watch every single episode. I love hopping in the comments and talking to you all about everything happening around the game of baseball and kind of continuing the conversation from the episode. So check us out on our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to the video. That does really help. And check us out on all social media platforms at Flippin' Bats Pod. Wherever you listen, hit the subscribe button, Apple, Spotify, wherever. But 2025 is the year of Flippin' Bats, my friends, and we are coming down the home stretch. The biggest time of year is here. We will be back in a couple of days, Monday, to talk about everything that happened over the weekend. And at that point, there will be a week left of baseball. Things are crazy in the game right now. I appreciate you all. I appreciate John Smoltz for joining, as he always does. And until Monday, my friends, remember, find your bat and flip it. Peace.